One three two one three two one three two one three two one. Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams. We are providing you with bonus coverage of the snowstorm that's now pushing its way across portions of Delaware right now, specifically for Sussex County. Now, just so you'll understand, we've had as much as approaching 6 inches of snow in some portions of the state, but that's the extremely northern tip of the state. As far as where we're concerned, we're just starting to see a lot of the snow manifest itself in a major way. Here's a look at our quad box of what we're talking about. We're taking a look at what's happening for us throughout the Delaware Bay, Ocean View, Rehoboth Beach, and Ocean City. So we are starting to see the snow beginning to accumulate. We're just at the very beginning wave of this snow activity as it pushes through. Just had some callers calling just before we signed on. I'm looking at this snow event for us to last at least until about 11:30 this morning, stopping more than likely by noon for most of us, if all things stay as scheduled at this particular juncture. Now, as we begin to take a look at what's happening with our forecast, we're seeing right now, we're going to take a tour as to what's happening with a lot of the locations. This is a live view of Rehoboth Beach right now with the boardwalk. We are starting to see the snow beginning to stick a little bit more, and still we're in the midst of the heart of that snow activity, still pushing across portions of Sussex County. Now we are still under a winter weather advisory, in case you were wondering about that, and we actually have a cold weather advisory that's immediately following behind this. But as you take a look at Rehoboth Beach right now, you can see that we're seeing the accumulation not only on the boardwalk, but on a lot of the structures that are just basically just in place at this point. And as we begin to switch gears here, we take a look at a live Milford view. Now, Milford actually began getting a little more in the way of snow activity and coverage that was being a little bit easier to see pretty early as soon as the sun came up. And right now we're seeing a mixture of not only the snow, but the melting that's happening right now because the ground is just slightly warm enough for a lot of it to turn into more like slush. But you can see at the bottom of the screen there that they're already working on the roads right there in the Milford area. This is a look at Dover. Now, Dover's had more impressive numbers. They're actually between 1.5 to 2 inches of snow that they've already dealt with at this point. But the streets are still moving. The traffic's still moving pretty steadily as far as the streets are concerned, thanks to a lot of the prep work that was done prior to the actual snow events coming into fruition. Now we're taking a view of what's happening in the Salisbury area. We're starting to see streaks of moisture beginning to try to ice up ever so slightly along the roads right now. Do you see those dots on the screen right now? That's from the snow that's already fallen, not rain, but we're seeing snow that's falling there, starting to accumulate on some of the trees as well as the grassy areas. But the sidewalks are staying clear for right now. But once again, with all of this moisture that's on the roads, I want to stress to you over and over again that it's the cold that follows this snow activity where the danger really is going to come into play, not only for cold conditions with the wind chills dropping to, near zero, but also the hard freeze that's going to happen immediately after this. See, all this moisture here, it's not going anywhere. And when it freezes tonight, it's going to create what's called, or commonly called, black ice. And it's only called black ice because of black top. You can't typically see it, particularly at night, and that makes it even harder to deal with or negotiate with your vehicle. So that's going to be a major concern for us with all this moisture that's accumulating on the roads right now in very busy cities like Salisbury as well. And we're looking for the snow activity to stick around until about, let's say, 11 o'clock. And then right around noon, that's when the winds will kick in. That's when the wind chill factor will drop dramatically. Now, hopefully the wind will dry the streets a little bit for us and help out in that sense. But the sheet of ice that we anticipate could be problematic. This is a view of our Laurel camera. It's just totally blocked out totally right now, and they're looking for the snow to last there at least until 9 o'clock. All right, we go to Lewis, our live Irish Eyes view. Now, when you're near the water, the thing about water is that water typically is slower to warm up and slower to cool down. It's one of those substances on there that has a latent heat that doesn't allow for much change. It doesn't go from one state, crystallization to steam or crystallization to water as easily as other substances. So it holds on to moisture and warmth a little bit longer. And so you're seeing a dramatic difference there versus, let's say, where we have a landlocked situation like in a Milford or someplace like that, or even a Dover. And right here, we're looking at our tunnel and razor camera in Lewis. The winds are going to continue to be vibrant as well. So we have gale wind warning still going to be in effect. You can see how that wind vane is moving very steadily right next to the tunnel and razor logo right there. That's indicating just how strong those winds are, because that's flying right now to, looks like about a clip of about 30 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts steadily for the Lewis area. So here's our potential for right now. We're still looking pretty steadily and favorable on our early projections of 1 to 2 inches of snow likely for us for most of Sussex County and most of our viewing area. Now, just north of us, let's say Bridgeville, Greenwood area, we could see it get a little closer to 2 inches when it's all said and done. But once again, we're still tracking this as it's moving across, and it's still an active snowfall for right now. Here's the latest look as far as tracking the snowfall amounts closer to us. Now, just as a reminder, the most northern portions of the state, we're already close to 6 inches of snow there, 4.5, 5, 6 inches of snow in northern portions of Newcastle. But for us specifically, we're approaching a full inch of snow already in Seaford and Bridgeville. We're at halfway there in Ellendale, close to that in Laurel. We've had traces that have been recorded in Nassau and Stokely. However, in Frederica, we've already recorded 1.1 inches of snow there already. So here's the latest look on what's happening with the radar. And we can see that snow is over encompassing the Creston, Federalsburg area, as well as Linkwood, Reeds Grove, Sharptown, Bucktown, and Copeland, and Mardella Springs. The roads are becoming a little hard to negotiate for us throughout Highway 16 as well as 50, particularly as you're leaving Cambridge going towards Linkwood and down towards Mardella Springs. Be very careful in driving along Highway 313. I'm going to highlight that for you so you can see what I'm referring to, because it might all look the same to you. All right, so once again, right here along Highway 113, this is where we're seeing some problems with freezing and freezing over happening. And then also right here, Linkwood going to Mardella Springs, that's where we're also seeing more in the way of widespread snow showers that's causing some traffic problems on the roads. And once again, refreezing is going to be a constant problem here. Then we take a look at what's happening for us, for example, in the Laurel Seaford area. You can see from Bryans Park down towards Seaford and all of these areas, all of this is showing you that right here, as we're pointing to it right here, we're looking at Highway 13, Bryant Park to Seaford down towards Laurel and Hearns Crossroads, where we're looking at a consistent problem with visibility, actually, and to some degree. Here's a wider view of what's happening. Now, it's this entire area here, this entire area right here continues to be encased within the shower activity that's moving pretty steadily in our neck of the woods. Now, right here is going to be the targeted area that we're most concerned with, and that pushes across, and now we're starting to see this whole area pull on through. Now, the back end of this is actually moving very steadily, and according to the forecasting models, right on cue. So with that being the case, let me go ahead and update you on the latest watches and warnings and all of that. The winter weather advisory is in effect for our area. Now, what a winter weather advisory means in the simplest terms is that we anticipate dealing with at least 2 to possibly 4 inches of snow. Now, that's a good generality for our neck of the woods, because we are expecting at least 1 to perhaps 2 inches in Sussex County. Then as you travel up towards Kent, that's when we anticipate it being about 3, maybe 3, a little bit more, 3 inches of snow. And then as you get into Newcastle, we're already surpassed 4 inches of snow there. And there are winter storm warnings in effect in and around the New Jersey and the Philadelphia area, just in case you have relatives or you are trying to travel that way. I would suggest you find another way to deal with what you have scheduled right now, because this is not a good time to be out on the roads. And tonight is really not going to be a good time to be on the roads, because we're going to see a lot of refreezing that will occur. All right, then we have a cold weather advisory for Coburn, Newark, Snow Hill, Figs Landing, Girdle Tree, Corbin. Now, this is an interesting situation, because this is talking about how dramatic the temperatures are going to drop with the winds and the wind chill factor dropping to single digits after the snow event. Okay, so I need you to have an understanding this is a 2-tier event here. We're dealing with the initial snow impact. That's one, first and foremost, and the roads and all of that. But then that cold, the Arctic air that follows this cold, is going to be dangerously low, because we'll have temperatures, well, we'll have a wind chill in the single digits, and that's going to be widespread, not just in one isolated area. We also have concerns for a cold weather advisory for Cambridge, Vienna, Hurlock, Seward, James, Taylor's Island, and the Andrews community. This is going to be an event that's likely to continue at least till about 11:30 for most of us throughout the Delmarva Peninsula, particularly and specifically for us here in Sussex County. Okay, so now we take a look at our expectation for any additional snow. Now, we could see up to a ½ inch more trying to develop in Seaford as well as Delmar up till about 12:30 with our future snow forecasting models. Now, we also see, as we change gears here over towards the beaches, this is where we're expecting for another ½ inch. So we're about halfway through the majority of the storm that we have pushing across Sussex County, and we're being very detailed and very specific for Sussex, Ocean City area. Ocean City officially doesn't have any accumulation that's been reported right now, but that's likely to change pretty soon. They're right there on that cusp of a little bit of warmer air that makes it change into more of a freezing rain or sleet kind of a situation. They are mixed, or what have you. And I want to put this back here full screen for you. So when our potential snowfall is still looking very steadily right now from 1 to 2 for our neck of the woods, I don't see that augmenting or becoming any dramatically different for us. Now let's talk about the second part of this 2-tier concern that I have. It's the cold following the snow. This is going to be propagated really with the future gusts that you see right here. This is our wind gust profiler, and it's profiling what to anticipate. So by this evening, this is actually targeting a timeline of about 6:30. Let me show it full screen for you. 6:30 this evening. And what I want you to notice here is, particularly for the beaches, after the temperatures will drop dramatically following the snow, then look at these winds gusting at 39 miles per hour at Dewey Beach, 39 mile per hour wind gusts, Fenwick Island, 35, Bethany Beach, 32 in Millsboro and Seaford, 34 in Milton, 31 Ellendale, and 33 Delmar, 34 mile per hour wind gusts in Salisbury. So that's where we're going to end up for Sunday evening at 6:30, and then by later tonight, we're not seeing much of a difference from here. I mean, we're still looking at 30 mile per hour, 30 to 35 mile per hour wind gusts for the beaches, and then even the inland areas, we're at 29 to 30. And remember, these winds are coming in out of the northwest, so it's a very harsh wind that's going to push through and exasperate our cold conditions in a dramatic way for us. Going into Monday, I don't see much of a change there. But we're still staying very much on the cold side of things. Now, here's a look at how significant the drop and the temperature drop is going to be. Okay, so by 2:30 this afternoon, it's going to feel like 14 degrees in Rehoboth, Dewey Beach, Bethany Beach, and Fenwick Island. We go farther inland. It's going to feel like 12 degrees with the wind chill factor in Millsboro by 2:30. And it's going to feel like 11 degrees in places like Ellendale, Georgetown, Milton, Seaford. 13, the wind chill factor in Del Mar. Now let's go forward with our forecasting models as to how cold we will be. Look at how cold we're going to be by 9:30 this evening. This isn't just something I was talking about on Monday, but the change is that now we're going to fall into single digits or near zero by 9:30 this evening. So the timeline has moved up. Once again, the timeline has moved up. We're looking at 3 to 4 degrees by 10 o'clock on Sunday in Georgetown, Ellendale 3 degrees, 3 in Milton, 4 in Millsboro, 4 in Seaford, and 5 in Del Mar, Selbyville, Berlin, and Ocean City. This is where we're going to end up this evening. I'm going to go back one click here. Yeah, it's still okay. Yeah, so by 9 o'clock, what I did was I just kind of augmented the time frame there so we can see specifically what to expect at 9 o'clock. And this is what we're looking at here. At 9 o'clock, we anticipate it feeling like 3 degrees in Milton, Ellendale, and Georgetown, as well as Millsboro. So this is going to be the pocket of coldest air right here by 9 o'clock. And as we go into the early morning hours by 5 o'clock, there's really not much of a change that's going to happen there. And so that's why we're concerned about what happens after the after the snow is done. Now, we also have the potential for hard freeze. That's where the road conditions are going to be problematic for us for Sunday night going into Monday morning. When we're talking about a hard freeze, or we're talking about what moisture that may be left on the roads, it's going to immediately crystallize and become a concern because it's going to create a sheet of ice on the roads, particularly rural roads. Those that are highways that are traveled a little more frequently, the friction from the tires from previous drivers is going to help a little bit, but you'll have a freeze and refreeze that'll happen there all the time. But there's a likelihood of a glaze to develop over many of the rural roads as a result of the moisture that we have in abundance that's going to be left over from this entire system. So as you take a look at our bitter cold air mass, it's not going to be a wind chill concern, but it's going to be a concern with refreezing and black ice and hard freeze that's going to augment the problem that we have with this cold air that's going to be in place. So, in summary, as we get ready to round things up, we're still under a winter weather advisory at least until 1 o'clock. All right, that means we're watching out for additional snowfall. I expect we'll get at least a ½ inch to 3/4 inch or more of snow, and the system is moving through relatively quickly. So we're not pushing the panic button on the snow. We want to keep you informed about that. I am officially pushing the panic button on the cold that follows afterward, because this is dangerous cold, folks. This is a problem because the wind chill is going to drop to 3, and I anticipate it possibly could draw as low as 0 in some areas. So please bring in the pets, stay from outdoors. Don't try to do any show snuggling or anything like that, particularly if you have any chronic problems. And the cold is going to be a significant threat to medical existence. So let's not take it for granted that it's okay to just play around with this kind of cold. This kind of cold is very dangerous, okay? We will continue to keep you updated on what's going on. I am Coast TV Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams with your update on the snowfall amount in our immediate area on this Sunday morning. Have a very safe and layered up Sunday.